First of all, welcome to the Port of Tauranga. I'm sure they're very excited to have you on board. So you're Corporate Services Manager for the Port. So just tell me a little bit about what that role entails.
Yeah, so a big chunk of human resources type work, so looking after that side of things for the Port, and then a little bit of risk and compliance activity as well. Some strategy process stuff, and it's one of those roles that if it doesn't fit in anyone else's position description, I think it'll end up in mine. So it's a bit of a jack of all trades, which is fun.
Oh, cool. And is that similar to the work that you were doing at Trustpower?
It is similar, yeah. I think my title was People and Culture Manager there, so it started with a strong HR focus, but it's broadened out into internal comms and safety and facilities, oddly enough. So yeah, similar.
Oh, cool. And what does a typical day sort of look like for you?
Look, it's only week 3, so I feel like maybe typical now is not typical for the future, but meeting lots of people, getting out and about and getting just familiar with the sites, quite a big kind of property area that we have here at Port of Tauranga, and getting across to the other side at Sulphur Point and meeting people across there, and just starting to get into the rhythm of a few normal kind of executive meetings and team meetings and things, and then just determining priorities at the moment. So it's a nice time when you're fresh and you come in and you've not got the weight of the things that you've been doing year after year to kind of jump into. So been using that time to just reflect on what might be the most important things to get started on.
Yeah, cool. And I guess it's kind of a weird time at the moment, having been impacted by COVID. What's a normal last year, let's say, might not be the normal now. So.
Yeah, that's right. Everyone's feeling their feet, aren't they?
Yeah. What was it about this role that you were attracted to?
Yeah, I guess to be honest, one of the things was that it's a great job of an NZX listed company here in Tauranga, so I didn't really want to have to move to Auckland or anything for my next step. So there was certainly that side of it, but coming from the energy sector, it is quite a different sector and industry to get into. So that was quite exciting to learn a new industry. And just be part of an exciting future. The Port's a really great performing company with lots of great people, and they've got a really exciting future ahead. So it was a really attractive proposition to get involved in that.
And you've got one of the best office views
ever. That's right.
It's very cool.
That was high as well.
Yeah. Many may think that the Port is quite a male-dominated industry. Is this assumption true, or is the landscape changing? I mean, this kind of at a management level, but also on the ground as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be a fair statement to say that it has been a male-dominated industry. The roles that we have often do and have historically attracted men more than women, but I do think that's changing. And certainly at the executive and board level, there's representation of women on those two forums. But it is important. I think the business case for diversity is strong now, and every business is grappling with how do they get more balance into their whole workforce. And also we have long tenure employees, so we don't have high turnover, so that makes that a little harder to catch up on as well. But I see great, initiatives happening across the business where there's some proactivity around trying to make sure that we are getting that balance for the future when we do get recruitment decisions coming past our desks. So.
Are there kind of pathways to lead into roles at the Port, either through study or through experience here?
Yeah, there seems to be. What I've noticed is quite a lot of internal kind of cross-pollination, and so people move through different roles, which I think is fantastic, because you get some in-house experience with one part of the business and then you move on to another part of the business and you've got different connections and networks and knowledge, which means your overall contribution is bigger. So I can't say with confidence kind of what the formal pathways are yet, they might be there, but I do see evidence of good sort of balance between internal and external recruitment. Yeah.
Awesome. And it must be great having a female at the helm of this kind of HR-centric role, because you can obviously be quite conscious of these things and championing for women to get into this kind of industry too.
Yeah, I think boards expect it these days that this is high on the agenda, so in most companies you would find it's one of the high priorities, and Port's no different.
Yeah, awesome. As a woman in business, what are some of the challenges that you faced throughout your career, either at a sort of entry level when you were starting out versus maybe as you've moved through the ranks?
Yeah, I've always been in kind of male-dominated industries, I guess, so it's hard to compare what you don't know. I certainly think it becomes easier to navigate as you progress in an organisation. I think it would be rare to find a place that deliberately discriminates. I don't think anyone ever sets out to deliberately discriminate, but I think what happens is people have unconscious mindsets and beliefs or experiences that shape how they interact and the choices that they make. And there's been some really fascinating work done around things like recruitment and how we like to recruit people that are like ourselves, and it's just a normal human kind of response. So I think it can be hard to get genuine conversation to get to those deeply held beliefs and crack and change those. But I must say my overall experience has been that people treat people as people, and building relationships and being able to do a good job and be known to be able to deliver what you say you're going to deliver. There's all sorts of common ground between any sort of level of diversity that I think helps people to progress. But everyone's experience is different, and I think for every person that's had a good experience, there's been a bad experience as well. But very rarely are those really deliberately bad experiences, and more kind of accidental or unconscious experiences, I think.
Yeah, that's it. I guess it's hard to change people's beliefs or get them to realise they're doing something wrong when they don't recognise it as something that's wrong.
Yeah, that's right. It's definitely doable, but it does happen, yeah.
What have been some of the advantages of being a woman in business?
I don't know. Sometimes I think that whether it's about being a woman or whether it's just about different personality, thought, experience, I think it's really easy with the diversity conversation for it to get kind of positioned as a gender diversity or a different type of diversity, when really, what you're looking for is the ability to balance voices from all sorts of different perspectives. And so you could have the same gender around the table and you could have different life experiences and perspectives. Sorry, your question.
The advantages of being a woman in business,
Yeah, so I don't know if some of the advantages come from being a woman or they just come from kind of personality and stuff. But I do think sometimes women can get in touch with a different kind of softer skill set that maybe it hasn't been as acceptable for men to be in touch with. And that doesn't mean that all men can't or that all women are good at it, but I have noticed that sometimes you get a bit of a better balance when you've got good gender diversity around those things. I think also for initiatives that you might put in place as a woman, whether it be things around childcare or flexible work or some of those other things, it's good to have experienced those things as you're developing your own career to then know what makes sense to implement and what will really be helpful. And I think the other thing is, and this is true of all types of diversity, is people need to be able to see that others like them can do those senior roles. And so being able to create the ability for people to see that there's no barrier to being a woman in a leadership role, etc., has certainly been an advantage as well.
Kind of an inspiration, or being able to see that is achievable.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
very cool. What are some ways that women can better support each other in business, both within their own company and also the wider business community as well?
I think this is a tricky one. I do belong to women's networks, and I sometimes reflect on what would it be like if we had a men's network that was just for men. How would that feel? It would probably be unacceptable in today's society.
It's called the pub.
It does happen formally. But to formally have one, that would probably be unacceptable. And so I see great strength in networking, and I think women network differently than men, and so I think there is an element of kind of psychological safety that goes with creating a network where women can support one another. But I also feel slightly uncomfortable with it because I think it can just reinforce patterns that disadvantaged another group, and so I think they need to be kind of used with caution. But I think networking and just being able to create through those networks mentoring support, or support doesn't need to come through formal channels always. It can come from a kind of distributed series of people, both men and women. I think just being very deliberate about how those sorts of networks get used is probably the one thing that we could do a bit better at.
And what about within a company? What are some ways that women can support each other at any sort of level?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a bit of a trickier question because I've certainly been supported very well by men, and I don't look only to women for my support.
Course. Yeah.
But I think one of the things that is tempting as a woman when you come up the ranks is to take up your role in the same way as you might have seen men take up the role previously.
Yep.
And so I think one of the things we can do to support one another is show that, I've got 2 kids. At the moment I'm waiting on a call from hockey to say, will that go ahead at 4:30 or not, and do I need to pick one of them up, and all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So we can role model just the different experiences that different people have when they get to the executive level, and make that okay, rather than feel like when you get to a certain level you need to fit the mould of what's been there before, particularly in male-dominated industries, because you might not have seen some of those things kind of play out before. Having said that, I think men are not often given the opportunity to be able to take up their roles in a way that's different as well. So we really need everyone role modelling, taking up roles differently in senior roles. It's not just a one-size-fits-all kind of, if you don't fit this mould, then you can't be at the table sort of situation.
Yeah, that's a very good point, yeah. What have been some of your career highlights?
Developing people and mentoring people. So one of the things I'm really proud of is where I see people come from working with me to then go on either internally or externally and be able to take on a bigger role, or step up and do something different, or follow a passion that they might not have backed themselves to be able to do. So I really love building capability in an organisation, and then kind of, it's like a bit like making a cake. You put all the ingredients in and then just wait to see kind of what happens. And so I love seeing people bring their best selves, and feeling like in some way I might have contributed to that.
Oh, that's very cool. And what are some of the Port's goals for the next 12 months?
Yeah, so obviously with the cruise ship industry interrupted and with COVID, this year's been a tricky year for us, as it has for many businesses, but we are in an industry that is super, super lucky at the moment, and we haven't been as affected as many others. So really the focus will be on how do we make sure that we can continue to sustain what we've been doing, to have survived a rough year in the way that we had, and to be able to continue to do that. And also to, I guess, just give great faith to our shareholders around the health and safety record, our social licence to operate, all those sorts of initiatives, and keep on doing what we've done really well.
Awesome. And what about you? What are some of your goals for the next 6 to 12 months or so?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the honeymoon will be over in this role, and so I am really excited about being able to set some chunky targets and then slowly chip away at those. And I'm not quite sure what they'll be yet.
I know, tough question, because you've only been here for 3 weeks.
I'm sure there will be some. I'm sure there will be some things to go after. Really just get to know the capability in the organisation and see how we best deploy it to be able to support the business and its aspirations is kind of the fundamental umbrella. Yeah.
And get to understand. How many staff did you say that were?
I think it's about 230.
Yeah.
So enough to get to know pretty well.
A few, yeah. And when you're not at work or at the port, what are some of the things you like to do in your spare time?
Yeah, so I've got 2 girls, Evie and Aki. They're 11 and 9, almost 12. And so they take up a big chunk of the weekend, ferrying around with sport and that sort of thing. I like to get out and run around the mount and get out and do a few things in the garden. So just kind of decompress, be in a different space than work. I love being outside, especially heading into summer. So,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Awesome. And was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I guess just to say, the Tauranga is a great community that's got great strength, and I think we've shown how we kind of can pull together over the last 6 months, and we should take stock of some of those things that have made us strong through the last 6 months and make sure that we continue to do those through connection with community or business or just each other at a human level. So I'm excited for the region that we have that opportunity to sort of take a tricky 6 months and grow from it from now.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great message. Cool. Thank you very much.
Oh.